And we start with the blockbuster news that Nigerian singer-songwriter Tiwa Savage signed a global music deal with the world's leading music company, Universal Music Group. Tiwa Tope was born in Lagos and spent part of her childhood in London. She said that there is a revolution going on in African music and that she's humbled to be part of sharing that with a worldwide audience.
It's very exciting. The support and the love is overwhelming. It's an exciting time, and I'm very humbled and very excited that they are backing my brand.
If no be you, then tell me who. Them go sempe. Nobody messing with my boo. If no be you, then tell me who. Nobody messing with my boo.
My love, you give me love I never see, oh, my love, your love means so much to me, oh.
Savage is on quite a run. In November, the 39-year-old became the first woman to win the MTV Europe Music Award for Best African Act, which she said was not just a win for her, but for the African woman. In December, Coldplay's Chris Martin asked her to perform at the Global Citizen Festival in Johannesburg. And Savage recalls the emotion of headlining at the famous Indigo at the O2 in London last year.
When I was performing, to see tears in their eyes and to have them singing all of my songs word for word was, I mean, I said it on stage. I was like, this is really, really emotional. This is crazy. Like, it was so beautiful, and I felt connected to every single person. The love was amazing. You know, they showed me so much love, and I just want to do more of it.
Tiwa Savage says that being a mom in a male-dominated industry only makes her work harder. So right after the news broke that Tiwa Savage had signed with Universal, there was some debate, especially on social media. Some saying that as much as we celebrate this landmark achievement for Tiwa Savage, a very accomplished artist in her own right, we have to take it with a grain of salt, given what happened with another Afrobeat star, Davido. In January 2016, Davido signed with Sony, another major record label. But after 1 year and one EP with Sony, it was reported that Davido was having second thoughts about signing this contract, and he most likely walked away. So the question is, what lessons does Tiwa draw from that situation? And the other question, which I believe is the most important question, is what Tiwa's music deal with Universal means for Afrobeats as a genre and African music in general. Tatenda Gumbo and Beshu Gedamu joined me in the studio to talk about this. Tatenda is of the opinion that this move by Universal is a testament to the global power and appeal of African music, and that the growth of streaming platforms like Spotify have made African music more accessible, and that presents an opportunity that Universal wants to tap into.
I can listen to any artist that I want on my phone very easily. If they have their music on a streaming platform, I can listen to it. So I think that the appeal has a global sense now. So we saw it, I think, maybe like in the early 2000s with like dance hall in America, where everybody was like all big about dance hall. And then it kind of disappeared. But I think that at that time, the access to the music was a bit harder than it is now. But now it's like if I listen to a Tiwa Savage song that I like once, I'm apt to go find it on my own. Or my own streaming platform will be like, oh, by the way, remember you played this a couple of months ago. So I think that for African music, yes, it's a big deal to have a major label sign one person, but I think for that major label, it shows where music is going, and it shows that these labels have to jump on the train because it's moving, and it's moving fast, and they just want to be part of that, and I think they should.
But that still doesn't answer some of the questions in Universal Music's long-term strategy for how to monetize Afrobeats to an audience that is not known for their consumption of African music. So does Universal plan to market Afrobeats to an American audience and not just the diaspora market? Or does it plan to expand access to the music on the continent by targeting the market, the African market, in new innovative ways that will get Africans to pay for the music made by artists like Tiwa Savage?
Roboskeske. If no be you, then tell me who. Them go sempe. Nobody messing with my boo. Roboskeske.
Africa has 1 billion people, a population of 1 billion. Over half of that is young people. Do you think they factored that into the equation?
Yeah, I mean, particularly Afrobeats is a very interesting genre, right? I think particularly there's a system that works within Afrobeats. They have management companies, you know, within that whole genre. So I don't think it was difficult for them to self-manage. I think the level of exposure that they needed, the support that they need, distribution, like how are you going to factor all of that with such a large genre? Like everybody can't manage, everybody can't distribute, you know, like what does that look like on a larger scale? And I think there aren't any music industries, or there isn't a music ecosystem within Africa, like as a whole, right? There's Afrobeats, there's probably something in, you know, South Africa, but what does that look like as a whole for the continent?
Does that mean that Universal is going to invest in creating that ecosystem? I mean, there's, you know, they might look at it and say this is such a big task.
But that's the thing, is that we have to remember that Afrobeat really is essentially Nigerian.
Yeah.
We don't see, I mean, we see collaborations across the continent between like Kenya, Zimbabwe, South Africa. You'll see like Tanzania as well with Afrobeat artists, but that's really a core group of people coming from one country. Right. So when we talk about even streaming platforms and where Universal is signing a Nigerian artist, which kind of means that they're in Nigeria. Now, are they in South Africa? Are they in Kenya? Right. Are they in Tanzania? Are they in Ethiopia? Wherever, they're really not. And also streaming platforms aren't even there as well too. I mean, Apple Music really is only found in so many countries on the continent. Spotify, so many countries on the continent. So it's a question of like, even if they are there, they're signing someone, what kind of music are they signing? And does that mean that somebody who lives in a particular country on the continent is actually gonna go buy music or have the ability to even buy it and or stream it? You don't know
traditionally,
that.
how we understood these record labels to function and how they make money was that an artist would be able to sell their music. These days, nobody buys music. Also, African artists, many of them that I've spoken to say they don't make money from people buying their music. So how do they make money?
You know, I think a lot of it is touring nowadays and merchandising, right? We all have access to Spotify. We all have access to streaming devices. Even in Africa, we may not have access to Spotify, but we have access to YouTube. Music videos are a big deal. They get paid off of these music videos that they generate. That's content. Any sort of content that's generated, they get paid for. Like you said, I don't think Africans, they can press as many CDs as they want, but we're not going to buy all these CDs. You know, we're either ripping or we're streaming or we're watching it on TV, right? And so I think that shift, I don't know when that shift is going to happen or when that ecosystem is going to happen, but Universal being in Nigeria or signing a Nigerian artist is a big deal. I mean, Universal is the largest music label. So they're not just out to just sign Tiwa Savage. I think Tiwa is a sign of we want access, but this
to that market.
To that market, and this is how we get access to that market.
Do you think Tiwa Savage is going to run into the same issues or same roadblocks that had Davido leave his? Do you see that in terms of creativity?
I don't know. I mean, right? We don't know what kind of deals were signed. We don't know what kind, is it management, was it distribution, or there's so many nuances to all these contracts. So, and how long were these contracts for? Like, are they signing for 2 to 3 albums? What does that look like? There's so many details to this, but I think somebody of Tiwa Savage's caliber understands what comes with that, and it's just going to be interesting to see that relationship, whether it flourishes or not. I think that was going to determine how they move forward.
Now, when we go into DC right here or in New York, go into any club, like you said earlier, they play Afrobeat, WKYS and other urban stations around the US. WKYS is an urban station based here in Washington, DC. They play Davido, even though they play only one song of Davido. It's like they only know one song. But Do you think that they factored in the diaspora market? Do you think the diaspora market really matters to these people?
I mean, now they do, right?
Right.
Like, I think now they do. Within the last few years, the diaspora market now matters. You can go to any urban club in Washington, D.C., and I'd say anywhere in America now, and listen and hear Afrobeat. It may be that same Davido song, maybe that same Tiwa Savage song from 5 years ago, but they're playing it. Yeah. They understand there's a market for it. They understand there are Africans in their audiences that want to hear that. The same way they play dance hall from 5 years ago. All these soca, like everything has its place. And I think they're recognizing that. The fact that radio stations are playing that is a big deal. Like that's a big deal for the African artist him or herself.
So that also means that they acknowledge or they recognize the purchasing power of this demographic.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at even radio, as you're saying. I mean, a lot of times people have always argue that radio would play the same 20 songs, no matter where you were, if you're in the States, right? But you start to see that, like, if one of those 20 songs is a particular song, had it been trap music when it was big, or right now, as you see, it's Afrobeats, it just kind of shows you that the market is interested in that and they can make money off of that music. So radio play is kind of like a show to say, what is the industry interested in and what does industry want to put their money behind. It's like a barometer
in a way, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, BET has a category for African music.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just a trend. I think it's only a matter of time until there's sort of official recognition in all sort of aspects of the culture.
So aside from the excitement that Tiwa Savage signed to this global music label, because African artists, I feel like they get really excited. We do get excited too. Is this a plus? What do you guys think? What do you forecast in the next couple of years?
I mean, I think it's a plus, but I would just hope that this translates into kind of building that infrastructure on the continent. So that way we can say if we have a universal music group, I know Rock Nation did some stuff in Nigeria too, where they sent, I think, one of the A&Rs to go find talent. And that's, I think, what Tiwa Savage and those guys, yes. But again, it's kind of like, what does that exactly mean for the larger space and the larger like musicians on the continent? Because again, I'm biased, right? I love Afrobeat, but as a Zimbabwean, I also want to see artists who are from my country or from my region. And I love South African house music. I love Casper Nyovest, and I want to see him get signed to a major label. But I think right now the fascination is in Afrobeat. And so it is a plus, but then sometimes, we kind of have tunnel vision to stuff. So it's like we're tunnel vision on Afrobeat and not willing to expand to the other genres that are building.
Do you see them being willing to test out the market and it works and then they branch out to these other genres like house music and others on the continent?
I mean, they might. I think it's inevitable. But
I mean, these guys command a lot of audiences. Casper has millions of followers on social media. He fills up the O2 Arena, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's only a matter of time. I would say that I'm always cautious of labels signing artists because it's not always to the artist's benefit. At some point.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, what I would like to see is African music creating its own ecosystem. I don't care if it's Nigeria, it's South Africa. I think having that ecosystem where they can distribute, they can manage, even to us on a smaller scale, that, okay, we need Universal's help, but we only need them to distribute. Like, we don't need them on an all, 360 deal. We can make music. I think understanding and I think that might have been what Tiwa did, because I think Tiwa understands also her place and her clout and her power within this ecosystem. So the deal that she probably signed is beneficial to her and her team.
And nothing stops an African artist on doing that too, because a lot of artists are pushing back on major labels. They want you to distribute their content, but other than that, it's kind of like, I'm coming to the table that I have. You see, Nipsey Hussle just passed away, but he owned all his masters. You have like 21 Savage, who owns all his masters. So it's like they're coming to the table and saying, here's my following, here's what I have, here's my clout, and we need to work around what I want.
People are working up to their own power.
Beshu
Gedamu, Tatenda Gumbo. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Let us know what you think. Do you think this is a plus for African music, African culture, for Afrobeats, that Tiwa Savage was able to sign this big global musical contract? And let us know what you think.
I make me spend this money, oh.